welcome to our special coverage of the official handing over of the Certificate of Recognition by the President of the Republic, Cyril Ramaphosa, to the AmaZulu King Misuzulu kaZwelithini. We now go to the Moses Mabhida Stadium, where Newzroom Afrika's Ayanda Nyathi is standing by, and all the stress tests, Ayanda, have been done. It's just a matter of pressing play at the moment. We've seen buses bussing in people, minibus taxis carrying amabuto, young maidens, and many other people, ordinary folk who want to see what today is all about.
Yeah, you know, to anybody who's had to organize an event anywhere near the size and scale of what's going to take place today, we'll tell you that you can do all the organizing you want, all the planning you want to put in place, but at some stage, you just have to let it go and allow it to have a life of itself. And that's certainly where I think we are. Everything is moving at a rapid pace, and I imagine there's going to be a lot of effort to try and make sure that we stick as close as we can to a plan in a context where we know that things obviously sometimes turn out very differently. But yeah, we're live to you from the best seat in the house. You're watching Newzroom Afrika's special broadcast of the coronation of King Misuzulu kaZwelithini. And throughout our time here together, we'll obviously get you a sense of how it's looking inside the stadium from here on our vantage point on our satellite studio within Moses Mabhida Stadium itself. Already people have started trickling in. We're expecting 48,000 of them from, quite frankly, around the world, if you want to get technical. More than 2,000 foreign dignitaries are going to be here. But of course, at the heart of it is going to be people from KZN who too want to get a front row seat of this historic moment. Let's bring in our guest now, get you a sense of perhaps how people who are the senior delegates from government are feeling at this stage. Mxolisi Kaunda, of course, is the mayor of eThekwini, and he's with us live here from our beautiful studio. I'm sure you'll agree. So, Ayanda, so I'm sure after the king and the president, this is your moment too, as the mayor of eThekwini. So much of time and effort had been put in place to make sure that this goes ahead as smoothly as possible. I have no doubt that you've walked around, gotten a sense for yourself about how the mood is like. What's your sense?
Indeed, we are delighted as a city to be afforded the opportunity in our lifetime to be part of this historic event, which happens once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
So to us, to host the event of this magnitude as a city, it's a vote of confidence to the city that we are able and we have capacity and capabilities of hosting such events. Looking at the award that we have just scooped in Africa for all the major events, this city has won that award, which is a testimony that this city is always ready, and we are ready to host our dignitaries, our communities. The excitement has been for the last 2 weeks. People all over, there have been some build-up programs, and people are excited to come here and isilo simemezile uhlanga lomhlabathi lwathi sabela zulu.
In fact, that is the theme of today's commemoration, today's celebration, and at least because yesterday was quite rainy and cloudy, and today we're enjoying the beautiful sun. But, you know, eThekwini itself as a city has also had quite a lot to have gone through in order to get to a point where you feel ready. I mean, we don't need to recall COVID, the July unrest, the floods as well has had the impact. When we talk about infrastructure and the ability to be able to house these thousands of people, how ready do you reckon we are?
Indeed, if you look at the speed in which the city has responded to the floods without any funding from national, we were able to adjust our budgets to restore services, electricity and water, but we still have challenges in terms of sewer spillages in the city, which we are of course attending to those challenges. But the city has been preparing itself to host this event, and we are giving the assurance to all those who will be attending that they'll enjoy their stay in eThekwini. Our water quality has been checked. It's clear, it's 100%. So people in hotels, looking at the economic spin-off of this event, the city is expecting that more than 75% of hotel occupancy that will achieve, more than 82,000 people flowing to the city, and 65 million the direct spend of people who will be walking around the restaurants, spending their money, buying goods, but in total 135 million rand that we expect to be injected in our GDP.
135 million that you expect coming in, but I have to ask you, how much do we expect to go out? because of this event?
Of course, the city had to spend,
Yeah.
Because when you host the events of this magnitude, it also includes the dinner that will be staged tonight with all the dignitaries of His Majesty. So it costed us a lot, but we'll be giving a detailed account in terms of the millions and the rent that were spent.
So it's certainly within the millions, without a doubt.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. You mentioned the sewer spillage, which, has really become a big snag in the works for eThekwini, especially because a lot of people who come here would want to be able to experience some of the beaches. We know in some instances it's become a court matter, apparently, with the DA going to court for this thing to be fixed as quickly as we can. How much of a stumbling block has it been for people who want to experience the full breadth and length of the city whilst they're here?
Look, we are working together with the Business Chamber of Commerce and Industry in the city. They have been supporting us, including big businesses, to inject some resources to assist the city in resolving some of these challenges. So we are on course in terms of restoring these services, but also ensuring that our beaches are open. Some of them are open. The few that are closed, we are rectifying that, and we are dealing with those challenges that are confronting us as a city. But for people who want to go to court, we are living in a democratic country. There's no one who do not understand that the floods are not in our control. So it's beyond the control of the city. So when we are attacked by floods, to restore services, it requires a lot of money, billions of rands. So therefore, we'll continue with the resources at our disposal to ascertain that the residents will get a better services.
Well, to be fair, it's not just the floods they allege. It's the slow response to the floods, despite the resources being made available. What's a response to that critique?
Can you come again?
I'm saying, Guti, it's not just the fact that the floods happened. What they are alleging is that we've been very slow, unreasonably slow, in responding to this particular issue. What's your response to that?
No, as a city, since the floods visited us in our shores, we started working. Hence, we reprioritized our budget. More than 600 million rand had to be reprioritized. When you reprioritize your budget, Ayanda, it means that there are services that will shelve them so that you are able to attend to the immediate. So for us as a city, that's what we have done. But we acknowledge that beside the issue of floods, but the element and the factor of aging infrastructure has been there. And we'll recall that in the previous dispensation, how the spatial development framework were developed excluded the majority of people who reside in rural areas and townships. So this city had to prioritize them in allocating resources for capital projects. People had no water, people had no electricity, people had no sewer lines, so we had to attend to that. But in the journey of attending that, then there was an element of the maintenance which got affected, because the resources, always in government, we have inadequate resources. We'll never have adequate resources.
All right. Very quickly then, we know today is largely about the celebration. Njoba seshilo ilanga seliphumile kwaZulu after ilanga lishona, when we had to utshala isilo, which was about 2 years ago. For those perhaps who are going to be interacting with the culture and the vibrancy of tradition for the first time, what do you reckon they should look out for from today's ceremony, which is largely led by government?
Yeah, look, having a silo with us, being coronated, issuing of the certificate, it's an inspiration to us as a nation. Because this silo has got the role to play. The monarch has got the role to play in making sure that he services his people. Besides that, he becomes the watchdog of government. That whatever we do as government, we ensure that we really deliver to the expectations of our people. But part of that, as a city, we've got a good relationship with Indlunkulu because the royal household.
Right.
Because if you remember and you recall that Isilo around 1973, after there was a big Durban strike here, industrial strike.
Sure.
So Isilo became the one who mediated in that strike, because Isilo and his presence preserve that identity, also that decorum that it deserves, to say asime sonke Zulu, asiqhubeke nempilo siphambili.
Sibonge kakhulu ngesikhathi sakho, Baba. I know there's a lot to be said, and I imagine there's going to be a great opportunity to go through that entire history. But for now, let me thank you. Mxolisi Kaunda, of course, is the mayor of eThekwini, as we continue watching this historic moment from here at Moses Mabhida Stadium.